Translator, Editor, Dark Gem. Dragon-rearing sovereign's spell to divine the dragon veins is truly marvellous. Chinmu gazed at the dragon-shaped chi swimming and coiling within the golden cauldron, its form like a living serpent of fate. This method of calculation from dragon-rearing sovereign seemed capable of discerning auspicious mountains and blessed lands beneath heaven and earth. For instance, a Great White Sword sect had been established upon what was believed to be the Dragon's Eye, a place reputed to be steeped in fortune and spiritual vitality. Yet according to the vision revealed within dragon-rearing sovereign's cauldron, that land was no sanctuary of blessing. Instead, it was a sinister terrain where a congregation of dragon veins seized fortune from surrounding lands to nourish the birth of a true dragon lord. All sects dwelling nearby would have their fortune siphoned away, their prosperity drained day after day, their glory fading like autumn leaves under a ruthless wind. No wonder Great White Sword sect has declined into such a miserable state today. Chinmu exclaimed silently within his heart. Dragon-rearing sovereign put away the golden cauldron, and Chinmu immediately returned the dragon-rearing scripture to him. The god shook his head and spoke calmly. Keep it and study it first. Since you claim to be a youth who raises dragons, you must understand the habits of every kind of dragon thoroughly. There are also arts of dragon rearing contained within that you should comprehend carefully. I shall grant you 2 days. How much you grasp will depend entirely on your own comprehension. After 2 days, I will reclaim the book. Long Jianan's expression instantly darkened like a stormy sky. Dragon-rearing sovereign knew nothing of Chinmu's terrifying comprehension, but she knew it all too well. On the lonely island in the Eastern Sea, Dao Master had allowed Chinmu to observe the 14 writings of Dao Sword for 10 days. Within that short span, the youth's understanding of Dao Sword had already rivaled that of Dao Zi Linxuan himself. Even though the dragon-rearing scripture was a divine technique of a god, its difficulty could hardly surpass that of Dao Sword. In truth, it might even be easier. Dao Sword required mastery of algebraic principles. The deeper one's attainment in algebra, the easier the comprehension of Dao Sword became. Yet algebra itself was a mountain few could climb. The dragon-rearing scripture, however, revolved around the raising, taming, and harmonious coexistence with dragons. The techniques within, known as the secrets of dragon control, were the ultimate studies of the Dragon Rider sect, containing even the profound art of molting and rebirth. Although Dragon Rider sect had been founded by dragon-rearing sovereign himself, the complete dragon-rearing scripture had never been transmitted to the sect. Even the sect master possessed only an incomplete fragment. Yet even with that fragment, Dragon Rider sect was already considered a formidable sect. Naturally, it could not rival the 3 great sacred grounds, but it still held considerable prestige throughout the martial world. Otherwise, Emperor Yanfeng would never have permitted them to command an army independently. The Eternal Peace Empire once possessed a mighty dragon army, and Dragon Rider sect had led it. Even though dragon-rearing sovereign himself had founded Dragon Rider sect, the sect never obtained the complete dragon-rearing scripture. Yet Chinmu, this scoundrel, had obtained it in full. How could Long Jiaonan not be driven to madness by such injustice? Dragon-rearing sovereign trusted Chinmu merely because of the youth's honest appearance, while he remained wary of her. Long Jiaonan felt utterly helpless. Dragon-rearing sovereign was oblivious to the storm within her heart. To a god standing at such a height, keeping Chinmu and Long Jiaonan by his side was nothing more than carrying 2 insignificant ants. Naturally, he had no need to care about what those ants were thinking. If Chinmu were not slightly more useful, his treatment of the youth would not have been any better than his treatment of Long Jiaonan. Such was the natural perspective of one standing at the summit. He was a god, an existence beyond threat. A tiny ant like Chinmu meant nothing to him, and thus there was no need to concern himself with its thoughts. He only required the ant's assistance, and afterward granting it a small reward would ensure its continued obedience. Even if the ant harboured malicious intentions, he could crush it with a mere flick of his finger. Furthermore, judging by their behaviour and mannerisms, Chinmu appeared far more reliable than Long Jiaonan. The young man possessed a rustic honesty, an earthy sincerity that made him seem far more trustworthy than the cunning woman. Dragon-rearing Sovereign led them upstream. With every step, they moved farther away from the surface world. The magma river had originally been buried deep beneath the earth, stretching across several thousand miles. Its upstream source lay dozens of miles beneath the ground. After walking for some time, the surrounding air grew increasingly hot. Chinmu glanced down at the river and noticed that more and more dragon scales were appearing along the riverbanks. Alongside the scales were masses of flesh and blood. He saw them sprouting from the scales, threaded together by long blood vessels. Compared to the colossal underground dragon vein itself, those blood vessels were as thin as strands of hair. Yet to Chinmu, each vessel was a passageway thicker than a water barrel. The blood vessels extended in every direction, spreading outward along the river's path. "There is blood flowing through them!" Soon he discovered that the blood belonged to a true dragon. As it coursed through the vessels, it produced a rushing sound like streams of quicksilver. "This dragon vein has grown a heart," Dragon-rearing Sovereign suddenly remarked. Chinmu could now hear it as well, the faint, rhythmic beating of a heart. The sound grew louder and louder until they beheld the heart itself, suspended above the centre of a vast magma lake. The dragon heart resembled a mountain of flesh, hanging in the air by countless thick blood vessels, many of which were also rooted deep within the magma lake. With each beat of the dragon heart, the magma within the lake surged upward and flowed backward through the heart as though cleansing it. When the heartbeat paused briefly, the magma cascaded back into the lake with roaring splashes, waiting for the next pulse to reverse the current again. Around the magma lake hung enormous chunks of diamond embedded in the cavern walls. Some resembled stalactites, others stood like towering crystal pillars. Besides diamonds, there were also dunes of gold sand and massive lumps of solid gold scattered across the ground. Chinmu and Long Jiaonan were utterly dazzled by the spectacle. Though the Eternal Peace Empire possessed countless mines throughout its territory, they had never seen a mine with such abundant mineral wealth. Even with the Empire's immense power, they would never be able to excavate to such depths. Their eyes turned blank with astonishment. Although great abundance coins served as the currency of the Eternal Peace Empire, gold still held considerable value. Moreover, diamond was an extraordinarily durable material used in forging treasures. Many eminent monks of Buddhism relied on it for crafting sacred implements. Such gigantic diamonds could fetch astronomical prices. "If only I could! What a pity!" Long Jiaonan lamented inwardly. "I'm rich!" Chinmu's heart blossomed with joy. "Once I get rid of Dragon-rearing Sovereign, all this treasure will belong to me." If this were anywhere else, I would certainly believe this fire dragon vein to be the primary dragon vein of the Eternal Peace Empire. What a pity this is merely a smokescreen crafted by those old fogies of Great Ruins. Dragon-rearing Sovereign paid no attention to the gold and diamonds scattered everywhere. He sneered coldly. "They may deceive others, but they cannot deceive me. Since Great Ruins is involved, the dragon vein of the true Dragon Lord cannot possibly be so weak and insignificant." He took out the golden cauldron again and inspected it before declaring, "There is another dragon vein nearby." He raised the golden cauldron and swiftly approached the magma waterfall ahead. With a satisfied smile, he said, "Right here!" Dragon-rearing Sovereign lifted his hand and parted the roaring magma waterfall. Behind it lay another magma river flowing beyond. "Ha! It seems I must cross several magma dragon veins before I can reach the true Dragon Lord's vein." Dragon-rearing Sovereign's spirit surged with excitement, leading Chinmu and Long Jiaonan through the waterfall. He laughed. "But that only makes this journey more interesting. My descent to the mortal world has not been in vain." The dragon vein they entered was even more extraordinary than the previous one. In addition to dragon scales, blood vessels, and muscle-like veins along the cavern walls, certain areas even contained organs. If not for the fire dragon vein flowing beside them, Chinmu might have believed he had entered the body of a living true dragon. If even the gathered dragon veins appear like this, what would the dragon vein of the true Dragon Lord look like? Chinmu marvelled silently. They continued onward, travelling over 10,000 miles before encountering the third underground dragon vein. Chinmu frowned slightly. They were moving westward. Volcano County lay within the central territories of the Eternal Peace Empire. If they continued westward for such a distance, they should soon approach the god-broken mountain range. Chinmu did not know whether dragon-rearing sovereign understood the geography of the Eternal Peace Empire and Great Ruins. However, the Heavenly Devil cult had long engaged in smuggling routes that crossed the god-broken mountain range, and Chinmu himself had traversed it before. Judging by their position, the mountains should lie directly above them. Meanwhile, the third dragon vein continued extending westward. If they followed it further, they would soon enter the domain of Great Ruins. It should still be night in Great Ruins right now! Chinmu suppressed the pounding of his heart. Would the underground of Great Ruins become dangerous at night? Would darkness engulf them as well? He could not be certain. Yet, staying close to dragon-rearing sovereign was undoubtedly the safest choice. This god possessed immense power. Even if darkness descended upon them, he could likely protect their lives. They continued forward until the underground dragon vein ahead gradually dimmed. The area had originally been illuminated by the blazing glow of magma, but now even that light seemed to be devoured by darkness, leaving behind only a faint glimmer. Chinmu gave the dragon Qilin a firm kick. The sluggish creature snapped to attention and hurried forward, not daring to stray far from dragon-rearing sovereign. Long Jiaonan immediately understood the situation and also moved closer to dragon-rearing sovereign. This woman is quick-witted. I should eliminate her as soon as possible to avoid unforeseen complications. Chinmu frowned slightly. They had not walked far when they saw a stone statue of a god standing upright in the middle of the magma river. The statue emitted a faint radiance that pushed back the surrounding darkness. So it truly was those old fogies of Great Ruins meddling here. Dragon-rearing sovereign sneered as he continued forward. If I had not personally come to inspect the dragon veins of the Eternal Peace Empire, I might have been deceived. He restrained his aura carefully, ensuring that none of it leaked out as he passed by the statue. It seemed he feared awakening it. The magma river stretched onward for a long distance, and every section contained another stone statue guarding the dragon vein. Only after travelling a great distance did they encounter the fourth dragon vein. This one no longer belonged to Eternal Peace. It was a dragon vein of Great Ruins. Upon entering the fourth dragon vein, Chinmu calculated their position. They had already passed beneath Border Dragon City and Disabled Elderly Village. They were approaching the remote heartland of Great Ruins. The two flood dragons beneath dragon-rearing sovereign's feet moved with astonishing speed. Compared to the gluttonous dragon Qilin, they were countless times faster. A journey that would take the dragon Qilin more than 10 days could be traversed by the two flood dragons in merely a day or two. By the time they reached the fifth dragon vein, the darkness had already retreated and dawn had arrived. When they reached the sixth dragon vein, Chinmu became certain they were now beneath the central region of Great Ruins. We are close to the dragon vein of the true dragon lord, dragon-rearing sovereign declared excitedly with a smile. How is the dragon-rearing scripture? It is time for you to return it. Chinmu respectfully handed back the dragon-rearing scripture. My aptitude is limited. I only gained a small amount of understanding. There are still many parts I do not comprehend. You are honest and sincere, lacking cunning schemes, and not overly clever. Naturally, there will be parts you find difficult, dragon-rearing sovereign replied. Serve my dragons faithfully, and I will gradually teach you the deeper mysteries of the dragon-rearing scripture. Chinmu was overjoyed. When Long Jiaonan saw the expression on his face, she nearly lunged forward in fury. She wanted to strangle him to death, so that the same honest smile would remain frozen upon his face, even in death. We have arrived at the main dragon vein. Dragon-rearing sovereign's spirit soared as he laughed. Today I shall seize it from those old fogies and destroy their 10,000-year grand scheme in a single stroke. Wait a moment. This is... A puzzled expression appeared on his face as he stepped out of the sixth dragon vein. As he looked around, the confusion on his face deepened further.
Translator. Ninetales editor.
Dark Gem, Chinmu, and Long Jiaonan advanced side by side. The place where the sixth dragon's vein connected with the main dragon's vein was, in truth, a towering gate. Upon the walls to either side of that gate were carved countless dragon-shaped reliefs. Each carving appeared spirited and alive, wondrous and captivating, as though genuine dragons had been sealed within the stone. Their forms were myriad, each displaying a different breed and posture, and the artistry surpassed even the famed 100 Dragons portrait. The treasured mural of Great Thunderclap Monastery contained merely 100 varieties of heavenly dragons, yet the carvings before them numbered close to 1,000. Dragons of all sizes surrounded a colossal dragon that coiled majestically and lifted its head toward the heavens, its gaze fixed directly upon those who approached the wall. Some dragons soared through the sky as though riding clouds. Some slithered along the earth, and others sprawled lazily upon the ground as though deep in slumber. There were dragons whose eyes gazed downward, as though intrigued by something hidden beneath the earth. Some enormous dragons watched over smaller dragons that frolicked around them. Several tiny dragons had even climbed upon the long whiskers of the great dragon itself. Hanging there, they swung and played in all manner of lively poses. The immense dragon had been sculpted with an aura of awe and terror. It bore the majesty of a divine dragon, yet within that majesty lingered a wild, savage spirit. Its piercing gaze seemed to stare straight at every visitor who stepped before it, making it difficult for anyone to meet those eyes without feeling their heart tremble. Could this immense dragon be the true dragon, Lord? Chinmu thought inwardly. If I could comprehend its essence, my understanding of Thunderclap 8 Strikes might reach its ultimate peak, and perhaps I could even forge new divine arts. A surge of excitement stirred within Chinmu's heart. Old Ma possessed masterful sculpting skills, Deaf excelled in painting, and Mute was a peerless smith. From these elders, Chinmu had learned countless crafts. To an ordinary observer, the 1,000 dragon reliefs were simply breathtaking works of art. Yet Chinmu perceived far more within them. The carvings upon the gate and surrounding walls had clearly been hewn with a hatchet. In Chinmu's mind's eye, he could almost see a god grasping a massive hatchet, swinging its heavy body as lightly as drifting wind. That clumsy tool transformed into the finest brush, coarse yet unrestrained, allowing the god to carve freely and boldly. The result was a set of earth-shaking hatchet techniques that the divine artisan wielded with boundless freedom.
Strange, strange!
Dragon-rearing Sovereign's voice echoed from the other side of the gate, tinged with deep anxiety. It seemed he had encountered something that defied his understanding. Chinmu stepped through the towering gate and was momentarily stunned. Beneath his feet yawned an empty abyss, while molten magma cascaded down the 4 surrounding walls, rumbling with thunderous force that shook heaven and earth. They stood within a perfectly straight and circular shaft. Its smooth symmetry made it appear as though the earth itself had been sliced open by some unimaginable blade. Yet the main dragon's vein that dragon-rearing Sovereign had expected to find was nowhere to be seen. The Sovereign lifted the golden cauldron and flew toward the center of the abyss. He scrutinized the true Dragon Lord sealed within his treasure while surveying the surroundings at the same time, the confusion on his face growing ever deeper. This isn't right. The dragon's vein of the true dragon should be here. So where has it gone? Could someone have moved it? Or has it already transformed into a true dragon and flown away? Dragon-rearing Sovereign grew restless and agitated. Without hesitation, he plunged downward at tremendous speed, descending toward the bottom of the enormous shaft. Chinmu immediately rose into the air and leapt onto the back of the dragon Qilin. Fatty Dragon stepped upon auspicious clouds as it descended gracefully. Long Jiaonan also soared upward before gliding down after them. After a considerable descent, they finally reached the bottom of the vast cavern. The two of them trembled slightly as they gazed at their surroundings in bewilderment. Streams of lava poured down the cavern walls, washing across a dazzling underground world of gold. They stood within an immensely spacious chamber. Rivers of magma cascaded from above and crashed against the ground below, which was entirely forged from metal. All around them, the cavern was packed densely with black gold essence. Some formed into towering pillars, others into enormous rock masses that shimmered with extravagant brilliance. Strange writings, ancient runes, and mysterious diagrams were etched across the black gold. They flickered between brightness and dimness, flowing endlessly like living script. From every direction emanated terrifying auras, powerful, enigmatic, and suffocating. From somewhere deep within the chamber, the faint roar of a dragon echoed, brutal and majestic. Strange, these writings and runes feel somewhat familiar. I feel as though I've seen them before. Chinmu felt deeply puzzled. He walked over to a pillar formed from black gold essence and examined it closely. The script upon it truly seemed familiar. The true Dragon Lord isn't here, not here. Dragon-rearing Sovereign had already grown irritated. While inspecting the golden dragon, he suddenly shouted thunderously, "There's only a dragon nest here. Who dug away the true Dragon Lord?" "The true Dragon Lord has been dug away?" Chinmu was stunned. His eyes turned toward the enormous underground dragon nest. It was extraordinarily vast, and black gold essence filled the entire area. Yet, judging from the arrangement of the pillars, a colossal dragon must once have coiled there. The center of the dragon nest was empty, forming a vast circular space. That empty ring spanned more than a dozen miles in circumference. The massive dragon's vein seemed not yet to have fully absorbed the dragon chi necessary to become a divine dragon before it had been excavated and carried away. "The true Dragon Lord has been refined into a dragon jade." Dragon-rearing Sovereign circled the area, his face dark as storm clouds. He spoke coldly. "However, that person miscalculated. He never expected that I, Dragon-rearing Sovereign, would come here, and he never foresaw that he could not leave the dragon nest of the true Dragon Lord behind. The person who hid away the dragon's vein of the true Dragon Lord actually refined it into a dragon jade?" Chinmu exclaimed silently within his mind. Who could possess such terrifying magical power? Dragon jade was a kind of jade pendant carved in the form of a coiling dragon. Its shape formed a circle, that yet a small gap remained. Judging from the shape of the dragon nest left behind, the dragon's head and tail had not connected, precisely the form of a dragon jade. Yet the material of the dragon nest was black gold essence, while dragon jade was carved from jade. Moreover, the largest dragon jade normally measured only the size of a human palm. How could a true Dragon Lord stretching more than a dozen miles in length be refined into a dragon jade small enough to hold in one hand? Chinmu soon discovered why Dragon-rearing Sovereign had made such a claim. The god peeled away a layer of black gold essence from one of the towering pillars, revealing the jade hidden within. Chinmu lifted his head and studied it carefully. The magma surrounding them contained molten black gold essence, and as it flowed over the dragon nest, it coated the jade and gave it the appearance of gold. The dragon nest Dragon-rearing Sovereign referred to was in fact entirely composed of exquisite jade. The dragon's vein within that nest should have been nurtured to completion, absorbing the dragon chi flowing from both the Great Ruins and the Eternal Peace Empire. However, someone had discovered it before it matured into a true dragon. They had refined it into dragon jade and taken it away. No wonder such an immense abyss existed here. Whoever had taken the dragon jade must have located the dragon's vein of the true Dragon Lord and excavated through the earth to reach the dragon nest. Dragon-rearing Sovereign's body trembled violently. Instantly, fire flood dragons poked their heads out from his robes. With a shake of their bodies, they transformed into enormous flood dragons and unleashed blazing torrents of flame in every direction, smelting all the black gold essence around them. Molten gold streamed across the dragon nest in flowing currents, causing Chinmu to sigh inwardly in regret. Once the black gold essence had melted away and flowed aside, more jade mountains and rocks were revealed. They reflected the fiery glow of the magma, and multicolored light gradually radiated from the crystal-like jade. Its luster was softer and gentler than that of crystal. The one who took away the true Dragon Lord must have left the dragon nest here so it could continue absorbing dragon chi, Dragon-rearing Sovereign said with a loud laugh, as he gazed upon the dragon nest, gradually revealing its true shape below. Once enough energy accumulated, he would return to claim the dragon nest and use it to nourish the true Dragon Lord. In this way, both the dragon nest and the true Dragon Lord would remain protected. He laughed arrogantly. However, it is useless. They never anticipated that I would arrive one step earlier and take the dragon nest. They took the true Dragon Lord away and refined it into dragon jade. I will control the dragon nest to restrain that dragon jade. Once I gather the dragon nest, I will be able to sense the direction of the dragon jade. When I find it, the dragon's vein of the true dragon lord will become whole once more. Chinmu suddenly touched his chest. The jade pendant hanging there had become scorching hot. So hot it made him uncomfortable. 2 jade pendants hung around his neck. One was the jade pendant passed down from his ancestors, the pendant from Carefree Village. The other was Emperor's Disc, which Cripple had forced into his hands some time ago. At this moment, Emperor's Disc was radiating intense heat that made Chinmu uneasy. Wait! Chinmu blinked and grabbed his chest. The Emperor's Disc that Cripple had given him seemed to resemble the shape of a dragon jade. His heart pounded violently twice. Emperor's Disc was a jade pendant engraved with numerous mysterious runes, writings, and diagrams that occasionally glowed faintly. Legend said Emperor's Disc was a treasure bestowed upon the Ling family by gods themselves. It symbolized imperial authority and represented the position of the emperor. In order to steal this treasure, Cripple had even lost his leg to the imperial preceptor. Yet after obtaining Emperor's Disc, Cripple had studied it for decades without uncovering its secrets. Eventually, he lost all interest in it. Since the Emperor's Disc proved useless to him, he casually stuffed it into the young boy's hands. Chinmu had originally intended to return it once he went back to the village, but Cripple refused to accept it. Having already reattached his leg, he had no further interest in the Emperor's Disc. From that day onward, the treasure had hung around Chinmu's neck alongside his own pendant. It can't possibly be such a coincidence, can it? Cold sweat formed upon Chinmu's forehead. The Emperor's Disc indeed bore runes, writings, and diagrams remarkably similar to those engraved throughout the dragon nest. They flickered and flowed in the same manner, incomprehensible to him. But the Emperor's Disc isn't actually a dragon jade. It only resembles one. There is no gap in it. Perhaps the similarity in these runes and diagrams is merely coincidence. Chinmu steadied his heart and turned his attention toward dragon-rearing Sovereign, intending to observe how he would retrieve the dragon nest. However, the Emperor's Disc hanging from his neck grew increasingly hot. Soon the heat became unbearable. Suddenly, Chinmu felt something move across his chest. His heart skipped violently. He reached out and touched it. The Emperor's Disc had split open, transforming into a dragon jade. Not only that, Chinmu could feel the dragon jade becoming slippery and moist, as though it had become a living creature. It felt like a tiny dragon. Thump, thump, thump. Chinmu could hear the violent pounding of his heart, impossible to suppress. Larger beads of sweat rolled down his forehead, and his legs grew numb as though the air itself had been squeezed from his lungs. Dragon-rearing, Sovereign glanced toward him after sensing his nervousness. "What's wrong with you, little one?" Chinmu forced himself to remain calm and replied, "I suddenly remembered that I haven't fed the dragons today. I was afraid of Dragon Sovereign's punishment, so I became anxious." Dragon-rearing Sovereign smiled faintly. "So that's the reason. However, this place is scorching hot and filled with magma. There's nowhere suitable to stand. If you wish to refine pills to feed the dragons, you should go back up. Do not fear me so much. I am easy to stick with." Chinmu acknowledged his words, though his legs remained weak. "In that case, this disciple will go up to refine pills." Dragon-rearing Sovereign's body trembled slightly. Instantly, countless dragons of every size flew out from his robes. He then handed his touty sack to Chinmu and said, "Let your maid accompany you to assist. Train her properly. Do not allow her to remain so unruly." Chinmu quickly urged the dragon Chilin into the air. The group of flood dragons followed behind them, waiting eagerly for their meal. Long Jiaonan followed them upward as well. When they reached the cavern's gate, Chinmu said, "Maid, remain here. I will go over there to refine pills." Long sneered. "Dragon Sovereign told me to follow you because he fears you might run away."
I run? I would run? Ha ha! What nonsense!
Chinmu's face darkened. Deep below within the cavern, dragon-rearing Sovereign had begun casting spells, attempting to refine the massive dragon nest so he could take it away. Strange, it seems the true Dragon Lord is quite near this place. The dragon nest is reacting. Dragon-rearing Sovereign muttered in surprise. "It doesn't seem far away. Curious. I'll take the dragon nest first, Once it's in my hands, I will know where the true Dragon Lord is.